Hello, everybody, and welcome to an In Search of Tomorrow watch party for the classic movie Batteries Not Included. I'm Andrew Dalton, as always, and I'm joined by Heath from Serial at Midnight. Welcome, Heath.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting. And hey to all you guys out there.
Okay, so in a minute we'll be pressing play, but Heath, can you tell us a little bit about the first time you saw this movie?
I saw this on television. Do you guys remember when there'd be like a Sunday night movie or something like that? It's probably early 90s. I didn't see this in the theater or even at the video store. I saw this on television, and it might have even been the holidays. So there could be Christmas memories mixed in there too.
Yeah, it's the kind of family movie that you'd expect to be playing at Christmas, really, isn't it? It's the kind of it's I like to think it's a very gentle movie. I think I'd call it a vanilla ice cream movie. Everyone kind of likes it, and there's not really anything offensive in there.
Was that a Vanilla Ice Scream movie, like the rapper?
No 5.0 with the rug top down. No, none of that. It's just pure. It's a nice kind of, it's the kind of movie you'd be happy enough to watch with your parents without the whole embarrassment of something inappropriate on screen. You're going, does anyone want something from the kitchen? Well, you're waiting for that scene to end. So, okay, well, if everyone's ready, on the count of three, we'll press play at the beginning of the movie. So 3, 2, 1, press play. And here we go. We see the infamous Universal logo fading in.
Now, do you have the nice, shiny, clean Universal logo or the original, like 80s Universal logo?
80s Universal logo.
Okay, so I have two, so I'm going to be a little bit behind you.
Okay. Well, if we there we go. Just wait for you to catch up. There we go. We should have seen the photographs with Steven Spielberg presents. There we go. Yep. We've got some great old photos of, well, New York. I'm assuming if you have any more expertise in what area of New York these are. There we go. I don't know.
Reminds me of 8th Street. No, I have no idea.
There we go, and then we see the photos of the leads, Hume Crone and Jessica Tandy. I don't know if these photos are doctored or if these are real photos of them in the youth, as they were married very young.
Well, some of them have to be real, right? But
they are. Carla, our amazing producer and fact mistress, has just said in our Discord chat, they are real photos of them.
Some of them do look awfully doctored, so I wonder if there's a mix. Well, I'll call them out when they look a little photoshoppy, even though that didn't exist at the time.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of them, I get vibes of the very similar intro to the movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, where they've got a lot of Rodney's face, even on a baby at one point.
Yeah.
But it's got a lovely score, sort of this vintage. Opening a cafe.
Yeah, it's really leaning into that 40s big band, sort of a jazzy. Yeah. It's great. It's very evocative of the time period that it's going for.
I think in some ways I'd like to think of this almost as a prequel, maybe to Cocoon, even though it was shot after Cocoon. After this, they retired to Florida because it's got a very similar vibe to it. So obviously, I think that's probably why they were cast.
It's interesting too, because I know we have a lot of time to talk about Amblin movies, but Amblin up until this point was relatively focused on suburban, family feeling. And this is one of those really big shifts into, urban New York City. I don't think we'd seen anything like that out of that company up to this point.
No, and of course, we saw these scores by the wonderful late James Horner.
Yes, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Great composer.
Oh, without a doubt, one of the best.
Do you ever forget that someone's passed away, and then when you're researching something,
Yes.
you're like, "Oh yeah," and then it
Yes.
hits you all over? That happened with
Exactly. I mean, the only this week I've rediscovered that Robert Palmer had died 10 years ago or 11 years ago, and I'd forgotten. I just haven't heard from him for a while.
Now we know why.
Yeah. Oh,
I didn't. I forgot that too. The simply irresistible. That guy, right?
that's right. Addicted to Love.
That's right. Yeah, he's passed. Moment of
Here we
silence.
go. Marching up the street in her mismatched shoes.
Look at that. Steven Spielberg, Kathleen Kennedy, Frank Marshall.
Yeah.
That's our executive
screenplay by Brad Bird, who went on to be an absolute giant in the movie industry.
That's right. Matthew Robbins, story by Mick Garris. I mean, this is like royalty for a certain kind of fan.
Without a doubt, without an absolute doubt. I mean, one of the things we'll talk about while this story's getting going is something we were just discussing before this started. This was originally going to be an episode of the sort of anthology series, Amazing Stories, which is one of my all-time favorite series. It was an Amblin, Steven Spielberg produced series with John Williams intro, absolutely fantastic show. And it very much does feel like sort of an extended episode of the show.
Mm-hmm. It absolutely does. And
it was kind of weekly. For those who don't know, it was in the 80s. It was kind of weekly Spielberg tales would be the best way to describe it.
It's a wonder. And Matthew Robbins directed one of my favorite episodes of Amazing Stories, which was called The Main Attraction. Do you remember this episode?
I remember certain episodes, but I don't necessarily remember the titles of them.
There's like this comet sort of a thing, and this guy, this high school guy who's very arrogant. He thinks he's God's gift to women or whatever. He gets these magnetic powers, and it's the downside of being the thing that everybody's attracted to. And it's so fun, and it's really funny. And he's the director of that episode. I think it's the only one he did. But
wow.
You want to talk about directors and stuff, Amazing Stories. It's a who's who.
Oh, it really is. Quick, just want to say, Hannah Rose Artist is saying, sorry she's late, but hello, Heath.
Oh, well, hello. Thank you.
So, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, a question for our Discord chat would be, what is your favorite episode of Amazing Stories if you remember it? I have two kind of favorite episodes. One being Remote Control Man, I believe it's called, whereby the main actor in it gets a new TV remote control, and it's almost like something out of Ready Player One with the licensing and stuff, where Kit from Knight Rider, the Incredible Hulk, who's played by Jake from Body by Jake, plays the Hulk for some reason. It's got Dirk Benedict as Face from the A-Team as his son. Gary Coleman's in it. It's crazy. And I think that's probably my most fun episode. But I think probably my favorite of the best episodes would be the Mark Hamill episode. It's quite famous, called Gather Ye Acorns, which is a great episode.
And we're all hoping it comes true for us too, right? Like, well, at the end of the road, we'll have all this stuff and we'll sell it and we'll make $1 million.
Sharon is saying her favorite episode is Gather Ye Acorns.
Yeah, that's a great one. There's a lot of good ones, and they really broke ground for those. I mean, just the writing and the directing. I think Joe Dante did one or two of them.
Yeah.
There's one where a guy is trapped inside, like he's a mummy. He's on the set of a mummy movie, and he's the mummy, and he's like, his wife is having a baby, so he's got to get to the hospital, and so he takes off for the hospital in full mummy makeup, and then shenanigans ensue. Like it was really special because it had that Amblin tone, which we should talk about the Amblin tone, because there is it's distinct, right?
But it's a tone, it's a feeling. It's just, I don't know. It's really hard to describe the, as you say, the Amblin kind of feel to the movies. I mean, I'm trying to think what recent movies would even have an Amblin tone to them. There's nothing that, I know it was a quality, it was a warmth, it was just a thing. I don't know. I mean, obviously the most famous Amblin, of course, would be E.T. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to think.
I would say Super 8 is an Amblin movie.
Yeah.
It's really J.J. Abrams channeling Amblin. I think Stranger Things tries to do Amblin as well, and I think they mostly get it right. They have. It's but I don't know what it is. I can't define what that tone is. I just
No,
know
it's
there.
it's that warm, comforting, safe feeling that you get throughout.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Yeah, you just don't worry about it. You know whatever's going to happen. It's going to be good, but you don't. It's not going to offend. It's going to be well made. I don't know. Is it a stamp of quality? I don't
Maybe,
know.
but it's often children in actual peril. But again, they're going to be okay. I'm thinking of Goonies is a
Oh, Goonies is yeah.
great use of that tone because there's actual adventure and danger and threat, but
Yeah.
it invites you to have fun with the movie, and it's not a jump scare kind of a thing. It's more of it's a tone, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I think Goonies is lightning in a bottle, though. Absolute lightning in a bottle. It's one of those movies, again, you could say it's a perfect movie in that basically everything in it is done just so right.
I have a list here.
Yeah.
It's a Poltergeist. I mean, so good. Goonies, Back to the Future, Young Sherlock Holmes. How do you feel about Young Sherlock Holmes?
Love Young Sherlock Holmes. It's one of my all-time favorites, and the influence on the later Harry Potter movies is definitely there within it. From Chris Columbus, who spoke about before.
And that CG element is kind of, you get to see a little bit of that in the beginning for Amazing Stories.
You do the night scene. In fact, I think they're both knights. They're different knights, but they are both knights. There's
same
a metal. There's the same software, but they are both knights that were rendered in sort of early CGI. Only thing I'll say is this a bit stereotyped, what we're seeing at the moment? With sort of the Latino enforcers, sort of the thugs. I don't know.
It may be very accurate to 1987 New York City. I don't know.
I can imagine I can imagine New York being such a major city would be a melting pot of all the different cultures, though, of course. Oh, and there we go, back to 80s and before that hygiene, where you could just have peanuts not in an airtight environment in a dispenser.
Isn't it weird to go back and watch movies from the 80s? And I've even noticed the 90s now. I was talking with my wife is on my channel a lot, and we were talking in a video, like the having to put things in their context. I'm used to having to do that for like 60s, 70s, 80s movies too. Now I'm noticing I have to do that with 90s movies. And I'm like, wow, it's weird.
It really is. It's where you have to explain some of the stuff that, like, even to, like, I've got a 12-year-old niece, and you're trying to explain to her. So in the 1990s, when we went on the internet, we didn't stream anything, and we'd have to click this load of thing up, and it would make so much noise. The modem would have to dial up, and then we'd have to wait for pages to load. And if you wanted to watch a small video clip, it might take several hours for a minute of it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't know if this is just an American thing or not, but did you guys have the computer program Oregon Trail?
I know of it. My geek credentials are strong.
That was how so many of us learned the computer. Like, you put in the little DOS. It would be like it was the bigger floppy too, and you'd put it in there, and then it'd be like, your potty has died of dysentery. And you're like, oh. But it was teaching us computer skills, because we did not grow up with computer skills.
Yeah, we had in the UK, we had a similar kind of game that was very popular in our schools here called Granny's Garden. And it was sort of an adventure game in a very similar style. Jessica Tandy, what a wonderful actress, who only got the real fame she deserved later in her life. I'm just seeing her in here.
Yeah, it's Cocoon, and then this Driving Miss Daisy, and then I think she passed in 94, I think I read.
I think so. I will say Driving Miss Daisy is one of my all-time favorite movies, because her performance in that is spectacular. Mm-hmm. And she rightly won an Oscar for her performance in it.
I want to compliment this guy's commitment to matching, like, his shirt always matches his shorts. This guy right here, everything, he's well put together. He's got like Bruno Mars style. And
I just want to say that bed she's putting the clothes onto, that looks the most uncomfortable bed I think I've ever seen in my life.
If only someone could come and help these people. They need help.
Yes, they do. Oh, this is just it's crazy though, where you do see they're pulling down a section of the city. It's a very very big trope here, where you see the evil sort of rich guy in the limo being driven everywhere.
Yeah. His character should be called Mr. Big or something, just like Mr. Big Shot. Did you read doing a little research for this, that the filming crew, the location scouts had to find like one isolated building that wasn't to meet the needs of the script, and I'm like, I bet that was really difficult to do.
It must have been very difficult. And the crazy thing is, now you wouldn't pull buildings like those down, because they'd be incredibly expensive and full of hipsters. And there'd be the most expensive apartments known to man.
They would, yes. But they'd be so cool. You'd have everything you needed within walking distance.
Oh, that's a quality 80s mullet on him.
Absolutely. He needs to push his jacket sleeves up, though.
Yeah, he's not turn them inside, roll them up.
That's right.
Yeah. So Carla just said Jessica Tandy won a Saturn Award for the Best Actress for this movie, which is well deserved. Oh, and Sparky John, of course, has come back with saying, and probably the most famous Amblin movie that we missed off our list, Roger Rabbit.
Yes.
What a fantastic movie that was.
Let's go through a list really quick. Poltergeist, E.T., Gremlins, The Goonies, Back to the Future, Color Purple, which is a big deal.
That doesn't feel like an Amblin movie.
No, that's like awards. That's Spielberg going for awards right there. Because also Empire of the Sun as well as Amblin.
Great movie.
According to this list, at least. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, The Land Before Time, Always. Now, Always also feels a little bit like an episode of Amazing Stories.
Yeah. Well, there is a very similar episode of Amazing Stories to Always. Kevin Costner episode, which I believe is a pilot. Which incidentally he plays a pilot in. So
right. Hook as well, which is I have a huge affection for Hook. I know that's a controversial take, because I know it's you observe that these things are cool, and then people want to be like, well, it's not as cool as we thought it was, and then 10 years later they're like, it's better than you remember. It's like the ups and downs of nostalgia.
Great. I love Hook. I think it's got a great
Hook very much.
Yeah. You can tell that they were having a lot of fun with bits of it.
This actress is in an episode of Amazing Stories too, but I can't remember which one.
Is she also Carolyn in Inner Space, the on-off girlfriend of Martin Short's character?
I think this is the segment where we just go to IMDb.
Oh, she is, yes. It's just been confirmed by one of our community members. This is what's so great about our community. It's like having self-answering questions. I just ask a question and within seconds they come back with the answers. And can someone tell me her name as well, please, from the community? Oh, now Mad Matt, that's not fair. They've started talking about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Carla said she's been traumatized by the whole Judge Doom scene at the end. And someone's just posted a photo of Judge Doom with the cartoon eyes poking out of him.
Oh,
terror!
Not cool. Why would you do that? All right, I'm going down this actress's. This is Wendy Shaw. I'm going down. Oh, Record City. Has anyone watching this seen Record City from 1977? Because if you have, you get bonus points from me. I have, and I can't recommend it, but it's interesting.
There we go. He's giving them a brochure for a home for senior citizens. This is how Cocoon starts.
Yep. This really does feel like, well, it worked in Cocoon. Let's James Horner did the music for Cocoon, did he not?
Yes, he did.
Jessica Tandy and Hugh
Crane were in it. Yeah.
Yep. Yes, the actress was in Amazing Stories. She was in the episode Boo which was
That's right. Someone's just said that. That was Sharon who's just said that.
Joe Dante's episode, or his first season.
Which would make sense why she was in Inner Space, because that was a Joe Dante movie.
One of these days, that Joe Dante is gonna resonate with the community. He's gonna do something that we can really latch on to.
I've got a lot of time for Joe Dante. He's someone we've interviewed for In Search of Tomorrow, and when we did the watch party for Explorers, he very kindly recorded us an intro.
Yeah, he's amazing. I love Joe Dante, and he's as you know, he's just a walking encyclopedia of film knowledge. I don't know how he's forgotten more than I'll ever know.
Oh, he's an incredible person, and I think some of his other films as well that people aren't maybe as aware of. I mean, Matinee is such a great movie that's often forgotten about.
Mm-hmm. The Burbs is getting its day in the sun too now. People have really latched onto The Burbs. This actor too, I think when I think of him, the first thing that pops into my mind is as he's like the police chief in Loaded Weapon.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. This scene actually does remind me quite a bit of Cocoon, and I don't know if they lifted a very similar scene from Cocoon that was quite emotional, where you saw that you saw one of the characters was looking after his wife who had dementia, with very similar kind of conversations. So I don't know. Did they just decide, well, that was a great scene in Cocoon and we just lift it?
I don't know.
Bernie and Rose were the characters in Cocoon.
I haven't watched Cocoon in a while. But it does. This does feel like Spielberg being like, well, it worked for Cocoon. Let's try it again. Yeah. So many similarities, right? I mean, composer, cast. Well, parts of the cast.
Yeah. Yeah, but they could have had Wilford Brimley cameo at the bar in the sat in the diner.
And should have. Let's be honest.
Eating some Quaker Oats.
He could have been eating a bowl of Quaker Oats. There we go. Yeah. Same page, right? Yep.
Oh, now Sparky John said about another Amblin movie that traumatized me, still can't watch, Arachnophobia, which is a great movie that's a lot of people, it's largely forgotten about by many people these days.
I think that's on the back of every comic book in 1993 or whenever that was. Like that ad, that full page poster ad for Arachnophobia. I have so many memories of like I'd finish a comic and there it would be on the back. John Goodman. Who else is in Arachnophobia?
Julian Sands is in it, isn't he? I believe.
Oh, the Warlock.
Yeah. Oh, that's a movie we will be doing a watch party on at some point, because Warlock is an all-time. For our horror community, we will be doing Warlock.
You know what's interesting about this is that it spends so much time. And maybe I'm tempted to say maybe too much time, but I don't know. It's just how movies have changed. We're spending so much time with these people in this building, and a lot of people, like a lot of time with elderly people, but this is a family movie.
Yeah.
And you just wouldn't see that now. They'd be like, well, we got to kick it off. We got to get right to the, like this movie really is asking a lot of the audience to just wait.
It is. And I think that's maybe why it struggled to connect with some of the younger audience. I mean, let's face facts, we're 21 minutes-ish into the movie now, and we've not seen the robots yet.
Yeah.
They didn't even do a scene to tease the start of the movie with them flying and then something happening.
Yeah. We watched The Rock, the Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage, The Rock recently. They don't get to The Rock for like an hour of, it's like 1 hour in. I'm like, no, not now. I mean, the bad guy gets to The Rock, but we don't, like the movie does not pick up in The Rock until about halfway into the movie. And I just, you observe that when you go back, you're like, wow, they really, because now we're in such a, I don't know if it's shortened attention spans or if it's just the way things have evolved, but you got to set that hook within the first few minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Then you can take some time and you can go back and show some things.
Well, it might be interesting when we do Poltergeist for our horror community in a few weeks. Oh, just get the first sight of the little friends. I might have to see how long it is. If it's a common theme in Amblin movies, how far into the movie before the star of the movie appears? Is this something that they do with the building up? But as Lizard Man in the community was saying, Amblin films did this a lot. They spent a lot of time with the characters, making you feel for them and their situation. I think that's what you get. That's what made a lot of them work. Like Poltergeist, you get to know the characters and feel for them. That's true.
Yeah, that's a good point. Lizard Man, was it?
Yeah, Lizard Man 88. Lizard Man 888.
Good point, Lizard Man 888. Even opening the movie with black and white photos. It's just like, bold move, Amblin.
These wonderful effects. I believe this was ILM, which, of course, it would be if it was Spielberg.
Yeah, I don't remember there being like any toys around this, but there could have been, because these are adorable. Not like especially the the kid robots or whatever they are.
Yeah. Yes, it was ILM. I mean, the question is, I know they appear to be sentient, but are they spaceships with people? It's never really made clear what they are, if they're robots or spaceships.
No, and they don't even, they only address it to say when a miracle happens, you don't ask what the miracle is. Like,
because if you look, it's like he's got like little spaceship windows all around him.
I would expect a tiny Richard Dreyfuss to come out and, a little Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
No, actually, what it's full of, it's full of kidnapped pensioners from Florida who were taken by aliens and subject to experiments and shrunk to the size of atoms. That again was one of the things we were saying when we did a Cocoon watch party. We were saying what they don't realize is at the end they're taking them away to put them to a space old folks home.
That's great.
I've never seen a bad effect from ILM. They're just so wonderful.
Yeah.
Everything they do is just. But again, it's got the same kind of look of the spaceship, of Cocoon, of E.T., of Close Encounters, all that. Very much of an era. They've got that kind of same sort of look about them.
It's very distinct. And you have to imagine that for a young Brad Bird, this is his first film screenwriting credit, that he's taking notes on, the aesthetic, even the way that the eyes are, look, there's like sympathy there. You feel an emotional connection towards this lump of metal. And of course he would go on to animation successes, and I imagine there were a lot of lessons that were learned during this movie.
Mr. Furzel in our chat just says they have those eyes though with the little metal eyelids. They do. But eyes are the expressive thing, and that's what's clever about the design of them. They can express.
Yeah, because they can express sadness and surprise, and it's like Spider-Man's eye slits or whatever they are, right?
Well, that was one of the things that was so genius about the new Spider-Man films. By giving him the animated eyes, it really enhanced the character.
That's the key. Yeah. Screenplay was co-written by Brad Bird. Brent Maddock and S.S. Wilson would go on to Short Circuit 1 and 2 and Tremors.
All great films, though.
Yeah, I mean, but kind of a piece of this as well, right? Like if there's that tone that, like, even Tremors, which is later and it's about graboids, but it has that tone where it's like fun thrills and not. I don't know if I'm saying Tremors is a family-friendly movie. I guess it is a family-friendly movie, but
I think it was a horror when it came out. But now, with the way that people view films slightly differently, it would probably be regarded as more of a family film
for the same audience as Arachnophobia.
Yeah. Oh, Hannah Rose, artist, just said, I get that. The Iron Giant, basically she's talking about the Iron Giant, which was another Brad Bird film, I believe, as well.
Yes.
Phenomenal movie. Absolutely phenomenal.
Superman. Yeah, great use of using the eyes to express what should not have an expression.
Yeah. And he also learned the secret of Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel's best roles are where he can only say a few stilted words.
Now we got to go back and see if Iron Giant ever says family. I bet he does. Family.
I really enjoyed the score here as well. The kind of James Horner really got it, kind of the timiness of it right. The kind of when we just had like a little bit of a happy, mischievous cue there.
Mm-hmm. That score really plays into that tone too. It's playful. It's whimsical. I think maybe that's our Amblin tone. Is a whimsical.
Whimsical. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
But it's also nice in this as well that it does have some of an orchestral score, but it's not a heavy orchestral score. It's a bit big bandy as well in parts.
Mm-hmm. To complement the older person element of the story.
Here we go. But this is one of the things I quite like with the Jessica Tandy character in this film. She is bringing, due to her dementia, she's bringing the child's wonder that Elliot had an ET as sort of the first person. She's not really afraid of them. She just wants to help, and she's accepting because, again, probably because of the dementia, she's just got that childlike element about her.
She has the innocence. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the kid in front of the TV in Poltergeist who goes, they're here. And she's going to be taken by them. No, she's not.
Question for us both from Sparky John. What's the connection with Brad Bird and one of the stars of this film? And Carl just said elements of this score were later reused in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which is another great family movie.
Yes, it is.
We were talking about that in our Discord server this week, and we were saying about when Auntie dies. That's one of those scenes.
Yeah, and it's amazing how much you care about that thing too, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
But again, that's of the movies of these era, and that's what's so wonderful about so many of these 80s movies. That again, in these, you become emotionally attached to these little aliens. You become emotionally attached to a giant ant, and it's just how wonderful the movies were, and the aesthetic of all the 80s sci-fi was, that you just find something to connect with.
I really think we've lost something, and I don't want to be the old guy who's like, I don't know, you guys, in my day. I don't want to be that guy, but I feel like there's a cynicism and a jaded attitude towards so much now that the 80s celebrated the wonder without feeling the need to tear it apart or to judge it, and we've really lost that. And I think, like, so I have a 15-year-old daughter, and she really resonates with a lot of this stuff because it feels so foreign, but it's wonderful. And I don't know why we have to be so cynical about stuff now. I mean, when I wrote my Amblin list down, I stopped at 93 with Jurassic Park, because after that it wasn't really the same again.
No.
And the tone that we're talking about disappeared. And I think that's sad.
So Sparky John said Elizabeth Penner, who is we're seeing on screen at the moment, played Mirage in The Incredibles.
Yes. I believe she's passed away too. Rest in peace. Someone might want to, hey, Discord guys, verify.
They can check that out. I just love this. She's throwing down nuts, bolts, and nails like candy for them, like you throw bird seed out. So a question from Carla here would be, do you think she had dementia or was only suffering from the trauma of her son? Sorry. Do you think she had dementia or she was suffering from trauma due to the death of her son and was knowingly forgetting his death? Carla, can you clarify that with us? Because, again, before we started, Heath and I were just discussing this. is their son actually deceased, or has he just moved away and has nothing to do with them?
There are things in the script that in some ways, this feels like a 22-minute episode, or I guess 24-minute episode of TV blown up to feature length.
Yeah.
But then in other areas, it feels like there are things that are missing. It feels like there's some pages missing. Gene Siskel, for the Siskel and Ebert review, Gene Siskel's part of it was that this feels like a comic book in which the best pages of the comic have been torn out. It feels like there's something that we haven't been clued in on, and you're on it. So I'm curious.
Well, no, so according to the Discord community, the son has passed away in the story. So I don't doubt it, guys. But can you? I've never got that from this movie, and I've seen it many times. Is it something that was in the script I've not picked up on, or was it something else?
I think it's implied. She just constantly references her son, and that I don't know that anyone's ever, well, he died in that car accident. Maybe they do. I mean, I just watched this again last night. I don't remember that, but I could have missed it.
But unfortunately, Elizabeth Penner had passed away. Stroud's saying it's implied that their son has died, and quite possibly. Oh, here we go. First time we're seeing what the little aliens can do.
I prefer to think of them as interdimensional beings. Thank you very much.
Don't label them.
Hey, what if they're not even real? This is just like a shared illusion from a gas leak in the building. That's 2021 talking right there.
Yeah, that is. It's quite refreshing though, because nowadays they'd just be smashing an iPhone, getting them to reassemble it.
And then someone would say, "Oh, my Samsung Galaxy is indestructible, and I have a great affordable plan as well."
Thing is, this diner we're seeing here is so, it's dated here, but this would be so fashionable now.
Mm-hmm. Well, it fits for that neighborhood you're talking about when this is the hipster building.
Yeah.
You go down and you get your coffee, and they probably sell, I think a thing now is whiskey slushies that I like. That's a new hipster thing, is it's like slushies with whiskey in them.
I've seen deconstructed coffee is a big thing.
What is deconstructed coffee?
Yeah, deconstructed coffee. So you order like a cappuccino. So what they'll do is they'll give you a shot of espresso in one jar, some hot water in another, and then frothed milk in another, and you have to assemble it yourself.
All right.
Yeah, it's a thing.
No comment. If I have to do that much work, I'll just make it at the house.
Exactly. We can get deconstructed cheesecake as well, where you get like the biscuit, and then you get like the filling, and then you get like the topping. It's a whole food thing. It's crazy.
Okay. If they just bring you, deconstructed cake, they just bring you like flour and eggs and whatever, and like, here you go. But that goes back to that old episode of Seinfeld where you could make, like, Kramer has an idea, is you can make your own pizza and you get to spin your own dough. He was just this has been coming for a long time.
Again, though, this is refreshing. So going back to the movie, this is refreshing with the 80s, because no one's just now. Everyone just be going straight on the internet and Googling the aliens.
It's a very modern, like, you hear screenwriters talking about that. Like, you have to find ways to keep the internet and to keep cell phones out of your modern stories, because they solve every problem.
So apparently their son Bobby was killed in a car wreck. Frank's wife, who appears to be somewhat senile and living in her own world, in which the car accident that killed her beloved son Bobby never happened, even going as far as to mistake Carlos for Bobby.
Do we know when in there, if it has happened recently or if it's distant? Am I asking too many questions?
Well, I would guess from possibly her photo, maybe the clues are in her photos. There seem to be photos of sort of a younger man in there.
Andrew, I think maybe we didn't pay enough attention to this movie when we watched it the last.
Quite possibly. But again, it's one of the things being a Spielberg and an Amblin movie. The background, the clues are probably in the background,
Yeah.
And it's there, but you just haven't noticed it because the sets are so rich.
No one looks at the camera and goes, but you know, our son's dead. He died in the car accident.
Yeah. But that's what's wonderful about these movies, is the depth of them.
Yes. Good special effects too. I gotta. You're talking about it, but I mean that shot in particular with the bread box and it's got to be some sort of a composite shot where they're just, you know, but it like the bread box jumping on the ground seems to have weight. It's not even in the you know the master shot or whatever. It's been added, but it looks so much like it belongs there. I'm feeling old again. I feel like we've lost something again. Like, well, yeah, we have CGI, but does the bread box look like it has weight?
I can see this movie definitely had Pepsi sponsorships. We've had Pepsi cups in the place. Now I've got the can of Diet Pepsi, but the logo is perfectly aimed at the camera.
Is anybody craving a Pepsi?
Oh, and there you go. Another can of Pepsi next to it.
Yep.
But we should be using Pepsi's proper name, which is Pepsi okay? Because when everyone goes to a bar or a restaurant and they order a Coke, they say, "Is Pepsi okay?"
Wonderful. Yeah, somehow the labels for the Diet Pepsi's been turned toward the camera again, even though we're facing the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So to the members of the Discord community out there, did you guys see this? When did you come to this movie? Do you have childhood memories of this, or is this something that you discovered later? I'd be really curious about that, because we were kind of talking about how different this feels from a more modern structure with the elderly people is such a huge part of the focus. What's your origin story with this movie?
That's a really good question. I mean, you said you saw it on TV, you believe, when you were sort of younger. Any idea, sort of early 90s, possibly, would it have been?
It would have been, yeah, probably 92, somewhere in there, 93.
Because I don't think it's had in the UK, I don't think it's had a wide theatrical release, if at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it possibly did, but where I grew up in the UK, we had the movie theatre had one screen. So it was, we didn't, unless it was a major movie, we didn't tend to get it. But I actually remember the first time I saw this, I rented it. We had where I lived, and I remember it was in 1989. We had a guy who basically ran a video rental store out the trunk of his car, and he'd come around the streets, and every week you just like rent a couple of movies off him, and this was one of them. But we've got a few people here. So, oh wow, we've got a few people. You'll be surprised by. So, Mr. Furzel said, I saw this on TV when I was little and knew almost nothing about it, apart from the little robots, getting a lot more out of it now. Sparky John has said he actually saw it in the cinema on release, and it was a very limited release. He was in the UK. And Mystic J says they watched it in the theatre too. Sharon saw it on TV way back and is revisiting it for the first time in a long time today.
All right. Yeah, I don't remember. I'm old enough to have remembered this playing in the theater, and I don't.
Yeah.
So it seems to have, from my, I mean, I'm old enough to have lived through the entire 1980s, and I don't remember this ever coming up at school. It was not like, oh, have you seen Batteries Not like, no one talked about it. It was kind of off the radar. So that TV movie showing, was the first time. I don't even know if I knew what it was before.
Here we go. Are they living things inside it we're seeing there?
Yes. Spirits.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's something in there. Well, no, I'll save that for the end. Yeah, what are these things? Is it just I mean, we don't know, but could we speculate? Is this just the spirit of life? Is this
I don't know. Are they
the spark of creativity?
I don't know. That's one of the things I think the movie gets a little bit confused about, because you don't know whether or not they are vessels for something else, or if they are entities unto themselves. Because with something that happens in a little bit in the movie, it's kind of a bit mixed as a message.
Yeah. It's even presented as a little bit of a joke that they could be like ghosts or something like that, you know, like it's something haunted. And I don't think the movie thinks that, but it's interesting to play with. It could have played with it, that they're, what if it's the ghosts of the people who have died in the building over the last 50 years or something like that?
Yeah. Well, Carla said the building and some of the cartoonist nature of this movie remind her of, that it's in the same universe as Sesame Street, possibly. That would be a movie I'd like to see.
Yeah.
And it would probably be one of the less surreal episodes of Sesame Street.
So this director, not a household name, but Matthew Robbins was, he's an alumni of USC, which is so critical to this scene. So many of the authors of our childhood are USC graduates, the University of Southern California. And he directed, I got my list here again. Corvette Summer. Any fans of Corvette Summer out there? I love it. Unironically, I love Corvette. Like, if you can watch Corvette Summer and not fall in love with Annie Potts, whether you're a man or a woman, gay, straight, I don't care. If you have to, like, Annie Potts is just unbelievable. She's so adorable in that movie. Dragon Slayer, The Legend of Billie Jean, and then later would go on to write Mimic and Crimson Peak for Guillermo del Toro. And why do we not talk about him more, is I guess what I'm saying? Because
Legend of Billie Jean is a criminally underrated movie.
Yeah. Fair is fair. This special effects work is outstanding.
It really is. Oh, that's a good point. Sparky John says, are the aliens related to the aliens from Close Encounters? Remember the little spacecraft in Close Encounters? You never know.
That's why I wanted a little Richard Dreyfuss to come out.
Yeah.
And it's been a decade, and he's like, I don't know, what would he say? I thought it meant something, but it didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as I hoped. I got no answers.
I've got a lot of television to catch up on.
Yeah.
You'd be angry, and you'd be like, why are you so angry?
Lizard Man just says the fix-its, as we're calling them now, they feel like a married old couple.
Yep. Here's a whole other side topic that we could get into if anybody wants to, is that movie. So this is a 1980s movie, reaching back to the 50s, to the culture of the 50s, and or in the 40s as well. The music and the aesthetic, the photographs, the diner that's downstairs. It's really leaning, and so much of the culture from that era was itself channeling the childhoods of the people that were making it. And now you have directors who are channeling, the 90s. It's this nostalgia cycle. But kids my age, when we were watching this, we knew what these things were. We knew I don't know that I knew any big band names or that's Glenn Miller's orchestra, but we knew like cartoon, we were familiar with Bugs Bunny, and like the Old Merry Couple is what got me thinking about it, because they feel like cartoon characters from or like Ozzie and Harriet or something. Have we lost that? Is there any familiarity with an era from before people are born now? Like if someone's in their 20s now, are they aware of 70s culture?
Yeah.
Has that art continued to pop up over and over again?
Hannah Rose Artist just says the 80s had a thing for 50s culture nostalgia. The Memphis group channeled 50s Kitchen, defined the aesthetic for the decade.
It's in almost every 80s movie. I mean,
yeah,
it permeates it.
So apparently Child's Play was originally called Batteries Not Included, but the director Tom Holland did not want to compete with Spielberg. That would have been a great mix-up for kids, wouldn't it? With Parent Rental, if they both come out with the same title.
Mom, let me batteries not. Well, first of all, would any kid be asking to to see this movie? Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. This for me always felt like some video stores in the UK. When we saw video stores, they did like a get one, like a rent one get one free, but you could not pick. You could only have the one you'd pay for would be a primary new movie.
Yeah.
You could have anything of the old stuff out the back, and that would be your free movie for the rental period. Mm-hmm. This very much feels like it would have always been the free movie.
Yeah, that's very well put.
Okay, so I mean, it's a good movie, but I don't know, how would you fix this if we could turn the clock back and make you the director, the producer, the writer, whatever of it? What changes would you make to this?
You leave it an episode of Amazing Stories is what you do.
Yeah.
No, that's the smug answer. The real answer is it needs more story. I don't think there's enough story here, really. There's a lot of this, of people just looking in wonder, but there's not a lot of development happening.
There's too many people. I think you're finding them in a situation without build up to the situation.
Yeah.
Which again maybe comes from the TV origins of it, whereby they don't have time to flesh out the backstory of whatever has really happened with her boyfriend, the father of that baby. What we see a little bit of what happened with his girlfriend. We don't see, the full story about what happened. A flashback sequence to maybe the death of their son would have been a great framing piece.
Yeah, there's very little drama to the story other than we're going to be kicked out of this building or we're going to lose the building. There's very little. I mean, there is there's like lip service to drama, but why do we care about these characters at the end of the day? I think we care about Jessica Tandy because she's adorable and she's vulnerable and she's our entree into this story, and we care about her husband because he cares about her as well, and we can recognize their plight. But I don't know, from a screenwriting perspective, there's not a lot that's keeping this thing moving forward, in my opinion. What do you think? What do you guys think?
Well, sorry for the chat. I mean, yeah, that's a question for our chat as well. The pacing of the film, Hannah Rose says, reminds her of a Francis Ford Coppola or Sofia Coppola movie. A lot of emphasis on tone, mood, and character, and less on plot development. There's a place for it if it's done right. I genuinely feel that they tried to recapture Cocoon and didn't. Elements of it, and it needs more going on. We've
Cocoon is a character piece, is it not? Would you define Cocoon is mostly focused
without a doubt, but you get a lot of explanation. Again, it's what's lacking in this is in Cocoon. You get a lot of backstory about the characters. You learn about their health problems. You see that some of them are dying. You see they've got cancer, and you can see how their lives are changing for the better as the impact of it.
Yeah.
At the moment, the aliens are there, but not really a lot is happening.
It's the whimsy that we associate with Amblin, and it's fun. Like, that's fun. The lights in the building and everything. Like, that's fun. But there's not a lot of pathos there. And without that, I don't know. What are we latching on to is, I guess, the question.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy who's like, whoa, no,
I don't want to. It's a fun movie and it's a sweet movie and it's a good movie, but I find it frustrating that I think it could be more.
Yeah. It's not classic, perhaps. It does not rise to the same heights as some of its peers, for sure.
Yeah. Oh. She ran out of power now. If I remember right, yeah. From an electrical safety point of view, we need to say here for anyone watching, don't ever do this if you have a fuse that goes in your house. Don't ever do this. This is so dangerous. Yep, that's it. Puts a trowel or a small spade in place of the fuse. Yeah, don't do that.
What could go wrong?
Michael Carmine. Oh wow, Michael Carmine, who played Carlos in this movie, passed away shortly after his final film. Longtime companion due to heart failure related to him having AIDS. That's tragic.
Oh, wow.
Very, very 80s as well.
Yeah. Well, that's
as Hannah Rose is saying here, a lot of these movies have an emphasis on action and plot, especially when they overlap with other genres. It can be nice to see a more low-key piece like this. This is a perfect Sunday afternoon movie.
Yes. I am doing some IMDb research here. I haven't checked out on you. I'm still here, but I'm doing a little bit of research because I just want to see if I can back up what I'm going to say. And yeah, I think what we're talking about is just what happens when you have this story began as part of an anthology TV series, and it was given a green light for a full feature-length movie. And the talent that were hired to write it did not have feature. Well, the Short Circuit guys had done Short Circuit in 1986, but that was really their first thing outside of, they'd written episodes of Mask, the cartoon series Mask, which is a great show. But
Mask's fantastic.
But just an experience, it's just, I think that's just, and I would also be kind of curious what the gestation period for this was, if they had a lot of time to work on it, or if it was Amazing Stories was running while this was happening. So I wonder if there was a split focus as well.
Quite possibly. I'll say, heartbreaking.
The eyes, turned up eyes, makes us feel, There
we go. Little one won't walk. You said the film title. Okay.
I think you should look at the camera and say that. Yeah. Just be like, batteries not included. That's a joke.
But just from Sparky John here. Apparently, Elizabeth Penner passed away on the 14th of October 2014, 25 years to the day after 25 years to the day of Michael Carmine or Carlos's death.
Wow.
Are we saying there's some kind of batteries not included curse?
Oh, is this a cursed film?
Yeah.
Somebody call Shudder. Let them know we got another one. Just burying the Now here's okay, since we're critiquing the movie, they're like, it's a chunk of metal. What are you doing? You don't bury a chunk of metal. We can study it, whatever. But they've looked inside and seen that they're not just chunks of metal, that there's
things, stuff inside them.
In fact, he specifically looked inside and saw all the
technology and stuff.
So what's he like? You're burying, I mean, I know he wants to open it up, but it's not just a chunk of metal, because you saw it's not just a chunk of metal.
Yeah.
Unless he's saying, like when someone dies, like they're not there anymore. They're not in the body anymore. They're in heaven now.
Oh.
I wonder, like, this could have been a marketing, like they could have really sold those guys.
Oh yeah, the toys, the absolute toys of it.
I got a question. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Here's a question for the chat, actually. How would you have dealt with this dead baby alien thing, whatever it is, be it a spaceship, a robot, whatever we want to call it? Would you do what Harry did or is about to do, or would you have just left it be?
And I've got one after that too. I got a question.
Okay.
They're just lining them up.
Mr. Furzel says he would have tried to shock it back to life. What, Johnny Five style in Short Circuit 2 with a defibrillator? Okay. Also, don't ever take a CRT screen apart. Please, for the love of God, don't do it if you don't know what you're doing. You will die.
And people are like, what's a CRT TV?
Yeah. They have an enormous capacitor in them. And if you get a shock off that, it basically will kill you.
Yeah. Wurlitzer jukebox.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Multi-mixer. Old-fashioned. Okay, I'm worried now. How long have those hot dogs actually been in that cooker for?
Since 1952.
Yeah.
And they're still good.
We fry in the same grease.
This
Carla says Harry's having his Green Mile moment.
Well, my question is this a movie that's ripe for a remake with modern technology and modern storytelling skills, and to really...
How would you... Oh, that's a dreadful burger. Look how much smaller the burger is than the bun.
Like 2 ounces, yeah. I don't know. We're living in the world where, hey, we have this old IP. We don't have to develop a new one. Let's pull this thing back out. And kids don't know what this is, so
yeah.
So batteries not included. We can have little robots in the stores. We have little.
This is only one of the only effects that I.
Yeah.
Some of this is good with the robot walking on the hot plate there, but some of it isn't, because if you notice, he's not interacting with what they shouldn't have done is had so much oil droplets all over the hot plate, because if you notice, he's walking through them.
Yeah.
And he wasn't actually altering anything in the shot.
Well, look, if you're just going to point out holes in the movie, I'm going to leave. No, just kidding. That little guy reminds me of, for some reason, do you remember the original Star Tours at Disney? Yeah. What was that guy's name? It's Paul Rubens that voiced it, but what was the...
DJ Rex. Also Rex, the robot.
Look at you.
Sorry, he's become DJ Rex now in Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, okay.
In Ogre's Cantina, he allegedly crashed the Star Cruiser and was repurposed. Now he's a DJ in the bar. Same robot is.
Same kind of a look, though, right? Same that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, ILM robots.
Yep.
What is he spreading on? Is that mayonnaise he's spreading on those?
I think so. Yeah.
Heart disease wasn't a thing in the 80s.
He's gonna go smoke a cigar when he gets done too.
Oh no! Just see, she's we've even got vintage Pepsi marketing on the wall now there.
Oh, you're right. I don't even notice these things. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, there's nothing more refreshing than a nice cold Pepsi.
That's right.
In the middle of a mayonnaise choked diner burger.
Maybe the mayonnaise is to make up for the lack of meat in the burgers. Mr. Furzalka, hate mayonnaise. I don't mind it, but I certainly don't want. I don't want a burger that's got so much mayonnaise on it that the burger is secondary to the mayonnaise. Well, Sharon's saying, who likes mayo on burgers? I'll have a bit of mayonnaise, maybe some ketchup, but let's hark back to 2019. We know what caused 2020. There was a real sin committed in Avengers Endgame. The mother offering the child, the mother putting mayonnaise on a hot dog for a child, making a thing out of it.
That's a thing. I'm telling you what. Maybe it's a Southern thing. Okay, Discord guys, mayonnaise on a hot dog. What do you think? 2 of the people that live in this house with me do like mayonnaise on their hot dogs.
Do you need like a safe number to call somebody, or
Yeah. And I need to talk about it with somebody. I was looking at Brad Bird's IMDb, and he did that episode, The Main Attraction of Amazing Stories that I was talking about. He wrote that, I believe. Yeah, written by. So same director, same writer, and that was in 1985, I think. Yeah. So
Sparky John just said one of the other reasons this film wasn't a major hit, it was released 1 week after Good Morning Vietnam.
Ooh.
So you can imagine it would have maybe had a similar demographic. This is the kind of movie I could imagine your parents might take the kids to because they thought it would be a safe family movie.
Yeah.
I can see the parental interest with the older cast. Okay, I've split the Discord up now. Oh gosh, it's gone wrong. They're warring about mayonnaise on hot dogs and burgers. It's people either love it or they hate it.
Well, I sense the opportunity for In Search of Mayonnaise documentary project. See what the stars have to think about this.
That'd be incredible.
Call up
another Pepsi. One there, one in that. There's one in that shot, and there was another one on the wall behind her.
Yep.
Carla, can you have a look for us, please? If Pepsi were really pushing hard on product placement in this movie, because it appears to be everywhere. One week before, Batteries Not Included had a good week at the theatre, and just disappeared when Good Morning Vietnam came out. Sparky John used to work in a UK movie theatre. He's providing an insight, and he used to go to a lot as well. Oh.
There's a lot of things happening in this movie that you shouldn't do. There's a lot of power equipment by water, and even at the like spoilers for the end of the movie, but the guy's like busting open water pipes, and then he goes to like the power grid, and I was like, I think you'd be dead.
Well, also, especially, you don't want to be dropping that toaster in the sink when someone has put a small trowel or shovel in place of the fuse for the power supply, because that would make it even worse.
Hey, it's the 80s. It's movie magic.
Hey, but that's cute. He's got like a little grappling hook.
And it looks good, too. That little effect where it looked good.
Cool. And the bubbles are a nice little effect.
Yeah.
Okay, you're overstepping the bounds a bit here, I think.
You notice that there are really in the building, there's no one who's not rootable. That's not the right way to say that. Who's not we're able to root for every single character in this building.
Yeah, there's no douchebag living in the building.
Right. Even the bad guy who's doing all the bad stuff at the end, like at the end we're like, well, he's all right.
Yeah.
Is that one of the other? Right.
Is that one of the other problems? Is there no real antagonist in this movie?
That's right. Yeah. The antagonist is progress.
Question for everyone by Sparky John. I know the answer to this. What Simpsons music video did Brad Bird direct?
Brad Bird's also the guy behind the Family Dog, right? The screenplay, at least, for the Family Dog, which was an Amazing Stories episode that got spun off into I think it was a series.
Oh, that's a proper trope. He's in the millionaire's office reading a copy of Forbes about the richest people.
Yeah, the 80s corporate villain theme.
Yeah.
Oldie but a goodie.
So Carl just said, for Pepsi, the soda maker got a lot of bang for the buck. The only cost accrued in the 80s for product placement was donating free soda for cast and was donating free soda for the cast and crew while filming, we wanted Pepsi in Back to the Future because Pepsi's logo was different in 1955 to 1985. That's Back to the Future. So I guess it's, you know.
I missed some of that. What's the deal? They
basically, it was a lot of the stuff with Pepsi getting in the movies was just donating it free to the production crew while they were filming it, cases and cases of it.
Interesting.
And Hannah Rose says the building has a no douchebag policy. I wish more buildings and corporations had one.
I know some buildings that need that now. You know, I heard that. That's interesting about Pepsi because, like, what's the I guess the benefit is it's in your movie and you have a lot of goodwill with the people who are sitting around drinking a lot of Pepsi. Did you recently? There was this big box set in the US, maybe you guys got it in the UK too, but the Al Adamson box set, which was it's a bunch of Al Adamson was an exploitation director and his movies were not good, but he made a bunch of them and he would have like he'd call KFC. He'd be like, "Hey, Kentucky Fried Chicken, we're making a movie. Would you donate KFC?" And they would. And so he'd make like there's a cameo from the Colonel in one of his movies, and it's all
amazing.
It's fantastic. And I don't think there's money changing hands. I think it's just like, well, I have to feed my crew. Would you like to donate Kentucky Fried Chicken? And they're like, yes, we would. It's really offensive, you guys. Just took this. How did this get a PG rating? Was it PG or PG-13? I can't remember.
What, this movie?
Dates? Yeah, this is PG, right?
In the UK, it would have been PG. We have PG in the UK. So, yeah, I believe it would have been PG. Yeah, you can't see, well, you can barely see a nipple there, as, you know, going back to Scrooged with the whole, you know, the sensors, where the nipples are the deciding factor.
Mm-hmm.
As Lizard Man says, they're not real boobs.
That guy's giving me like a Mark Maron vibe now.
Yeah. Mark Maron, I don't know, or a I don't know, Richard Marx in the 80s. He's going to start belting out Hold On to the Knights or Hazard for us in a moment. He's got that kind of, you know, he's just around the corner from his next video. Oh, there you go. He's smoking a cigar. Hugh is. Hugh.
There it is. If only he could do that while he's cooking.
Okay, can we just appreciate that he's actually shooting a laser into the end of the cigar to light it for him? Well, question for you, Heath. What do you think of Brad Bird's Tomorrowland, A World Beyond, the George Clooney movie?
It's a complicated answer. I respect it a lot. It has a sense of optimism and it's, hey, it's up to you, that I really connect with. But it feels like I can see the studio notes and they're like, well, it needs more of this. Like the script doesn't totally come together. It's got a lot of parts that I'm just like, what is this? There's so much backstory that's not in the movie that they had to release a novel that fills in the backstory.
Yeah.
Which I read and didn't really work for me either. But the core of it, I really like. I want to say I love it. I think it's really ambitious and I don't think it does what it's trying to do, but it tries. And so I respect it a lot. Yeah. What about you, Andrew?
I quite like it a lot. I mean, I'm quite a big Disney fan, so I love the Carousel of Progress. Yep. And all the influence of all that throughout it, I think is wonderful. I think the sense of optimism is right there. I just think it's, God, sorry. She's cut it. Well, aside from she's vandalizing the house, which I guess she can probably repair, she's taking a circular saw to get the child to fly. That's a little extreme, but I think Tomorrowland had its moments, and there's some bits in it that are really fun, but it's just a bit mixed. It's a bit of a shame.
Exactly, and I'm a huge Disney fan too, and that feeling of like it's that Flight of the Navigator feeling, a lot of Florida, a lot of white buildings, like it feels very like what we thought the future was going to look like in the 80s. There's a lot of that to it, and it's a big nostalgia tick for me, but I just wish that parts of the story worked better.
Yeah. Exactly.
And there's like the whole thing. Go ahead.
It's just a shame. I mean, for me, the most joyous moments in that movie are where he's a child flying around Tomorrowland with a jetpack. That's the tone, and that's that Flight of the Navigator kind of feeling, the optimistic child that you want to be.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know how I don't know that I think any of the bad guy stuff really works. Even that was like the bounty hunter element, right? Like she goes to this vintage toy store, and then these people come for her, and I'm like, why is this? What are we doing? But it feels like someone was like, well, you need an action beat right here.
It very much feels like it's a story they shouldn't really have made a movie as they did about. It's as you say, it feels very much like it's a movie by committee, where someone said, right, they need to insert a bad guy here, they need to sort this, add this, they need to do this. And it's a bit of a shame. So another question from our community from Sharon is, what's your favorite 80s sci-fi movie, Heath?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Favorites are so hard for me because I'm like, well, I could give you my favorite 10 favorite sci-fi movies that take place in so and so. Help me out. Let's name some of the more popular 80s sci-fi movies. I do really love Flight of the Navigator, since we just mentioned.
Flight of the Navigator is a great movie. Another one for me that we are going to be covering in our Summer of Popcorn is Inner Space. That is probably one of my all-time favorites. It's such a fun movie. You can tell the actors were having so much fun making it. Flight of the Navigator, though, is a very special movie to me anyway, because I saw it my 10th birthday. So at the theatre. Yeah. And it's one of those weird moments in life as well. And it's a really strange thing. I actually told Joey Kramer this when I spoke to him. It's a little thing in life. It was my 10th birthday, and I had my first Big Mac. And it was just one of those things, you know, it's in your life. It's
the like, McDonald's Big Mac?
Yeah, first McDonald's Big Mac when I was 10. After we went to see it, and then went to that. But there's so many great 80s movies. I mean,
you know, I've got a list up, and I'm looking because I want to cover my bases here. I'm gonna speak very highly of The Thing, of John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
But is that sci-fi, or are we calling that horror? Because
I'd say it's sci-fi. It's sci-fi horror. You can have crossover.
That might be. I have such respect for that movie.
I think for me with it is it's hard to pick any one because I have a sci-fi movie for a different mood.
Yeah. This is so hard for me, and I'm jealous of people who can be like, oh, it's blah blah blah. So I'm like, oh, and then you see I start thinking, I'm like, well, yeah, but what about and then Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, that's popping up here. That's
a great movie, such a positive message. But I've got so many myself. We've got the chat here just coming up with some as well. But someone did say, did Tomorrowland star Vicky the Robot? No, Vicky the Robot was sent from hell, from Small Wonder.
Hey, what about The Last Starfighter? I know the special effects have aged poorly, but what a fun
that's a fantastic movie. Again, Lizardman just said Last Starfighter, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters. We've got people saying Terminator, The Thing, but then you could talk about Aliens. Yeah. You could so many. And I know one I wish was an 80s movie, but it's not, but it's so near the 80s, it should be. You covered it recently on your channel, was The Rocketeer, which is an all-time favorite of mine.
Joe Johnston, man, that movie is amazing. That movie's so fun.
Yeah.
What about even this The Running Man? Like you can make an argument that that's science fiction as well.
I love The Running Man, but the problem I have with it is the director you can tell he was used to making TV movies. It feels very much like a TV movie.
That's a good note. I hope I kind of answered the question. I think Flight of the Navigator is the first thing that popped into my mind. So we were talking about Tomorrowland too. And Joey Kramer is such a lovely guy, and I know this is a good opportunity to promote your Runaway.
Well, that's why we did Runaway with Joey. You can go back and see us interviewing Joey in December last year. Oh, Sharon's just come back with Empire Strikes Back and Wrath of Khan. Wrath of Khan is just an incredible film.
Yeah.
If as the Star Trek movie, well, it's one of the most accessible Star Trek movies. It's more like a submarine movie, and it feels much bigger than it actually is. So that's one that is in our summer of popcorn. I cannot wait to get through. There's so many, but that's why we're all here. We love all these great movies. Even this movie with its problems is a lot of fun, and we can see. Oh, we've got the Short Circuit 2 moment now.
As a Disney fan, do you know the Flight of the Navigator, the ship Max that the actual physical prop ship is in the Magic Kingdom?
Bear with me. Let me get my phone. Talk myself a second. Do you mean the cool ship?
Yep, that's right.
The cool ship. There's actually a photo of me in front of it. I've got here.
Very good. Painted red.
So painted red. There we go. There's a photo. I don't know if you guys see that on camera or not. I don't know if we can do it. There you go. You can see my face pulling it.
I see your face, but
you can't quite see it. I don't know. It's the zoom.
I mean, photo or it didn't happen. So
there's a photo of me in front of the. I will paste it for the Discord community now. There's a photo of me in front of the Flight of the Navigator ship, which is the cool ship in Disney World, and it's
it's in Tomorrowland too.
It is, and it does a good it does a good thing there though. It does keep people cool in the heat because it sprays a cooling mist out. So, you know, even now, that ship is still doing good in the world.
Yeah, and it's for Disney fans like us, it's literally hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, if you didn't know, it's crazy. Let's find this photo, paste it there, paste that in the chat. There we go. So everyone, a photo of me in the Magic Kingdom in front of the ship, having a bit of being quite sad about it.
Right before you got in the queue for Space Mountain.
Yeah, no, it was Carousel of Progress. It was my first time in Disney World. So Magic Kingdom.
I love the Carousel of Progress, but
yeah,
I want them to. Every time I go, I feel like it's a little bit more broken. They speakers are out and like hands don't come up like they're supposed to.
Oh, that's Bobby is dead. I do apologize to everyone. I don't know why I forgot about that. He clearly just said to her,
Bobby is dead. He's dead. You hear? No. I don't know. You wish he was dead.
Yeah.
Well.
I can't believe I even watched this recently and this bit passed me by.
I watched it last night and I don't remember them explicitly saying that.
Oh, Shanta's my stepmother is an alien. Oh, that's a fun movie.
Oh.
But Carl is asking, what 80s sci-fi movies did you love and you don't now? Like Howard the Duck was one she gave an example of. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I don't know that I have that I've backed off on any of this. I just love them differently, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
like another
great one I love is Battle Beyond the Stars.
Oh yeah, like Star Wars exploitation stuff. Like, yeah. I'm looking. It's hard because some of these I would be like, I don't love it like I used to, but I can appreciate the. All right, I don't love Short Circuit. I'll give you that. I used to like as a kid, I like Short Circuit more than I like Short Circuit now. And if you've watched it recently, there's some real problems with that movie.
Yeah, I know. I'd like a new cut of Short Circuit. I like Short Circuit, parts of it.
Yeah.
But a lot of it just doesn't work anymore. Mad Matt, that's an interesting one. That's not a sci-fi movie. That's an interesting one. He's saying the Goonies rewatch made him want to send all the kids to their rooms.
I've seen that take a lot. There's a backlash against Goonies that's been happening. And yeah, I wouldn't say it's a sci-fi movie, but that for that Amblin tone, I've seen a lot of people be like, Goonies doesn't hold up. And it still does for me, but
yeah,
I know that it doesn't for some people.
Yeah. And Carla's saying another one she can't watch is The Alien from LA, which is not what I've seen.
I don't know that.
Unless it's under another title.
Did Carla make that up? No, I'm just kidding.
No, Carla's the trivia queen.
I know she's pulling deep cuts out.
Oh yeah.
Howard the Duck I actually appreciate now more than I ever did when I was younger, because I've become such a defender of George Lucas and his particular.
You find what movie is that? Manhunter and The Fly were at the movie theater in the movie.
Oh. How do we feel about War Games?
We watched War Games a couple of weeks ago. Great.
How did it hold up for you?
Yeah, still did. I mean, in my professional career, when I'm not doing this, my real job is on IT consultant. So very much around computer security and things like that I work in. We actually had a real expert on talking about the stuff with us, and it holds up. It's one of the least offensive hacker movies. From someone who understands computer security and computers, that kind of stuff. It's one of the least offensive movies I find.
Isn't Johnny Mnemonic so realistic? Just kidding.
Well, I again, it's not a sci-fi movie. I watched Under Siege 2 recently, and the hacking in that. One of the guys goes, he's got an encrypted device. He goes, "I'll throw a gigabyte of RAM at it," and I'm into it now. And it's no. Alien from LA. Yeah, there we go. Hannah Rose says, backlash about the Goonies? Do people have nothing better to do? And Lizard Man just replies, I'm on Twitter. Trust me, they don't.
Well played. I don't think I've seen Kathy Ireland is Alien from. I've never seen this.
Okay. So we're just seeing the little baby aliens getting into bits of general mischief at the moment. But even then, the aliens are kind of a bit. The little alien ships are kind of a bit retro in parts. Like he just opens up and a little satellite dish comes out of him, and
yeah, he's like the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, he's got a round satellite dish, not a square one.
Oh, you are a fan. Somewhere on another rooftop, there's a Highlander confrontation.
I was about to say that. Yeah, the Silvercrest. Yeah, by Silvercrest logo, there's a fight going on.
Yeah.
And then on another block, there's 4 men with proton packs fighting. That'd be just incredible if there was this giant New York shared universe of everything.
That'd be a good poster. Yeah, just like rooftops of 80s movies and all the stuff that happened.
Oh, he's been fixed.
And going back to Flight of the Navigator, I feel like I have to promote the documentary too, Life After.
Oh yes,
Joey Kramer has been through such an incredible journey, and I mean the journey on the screen is nothing close to what he's really gone through in real life. So if anybody hasn't,
I've just got to interrupt for a second. We just had a blatant Pepsi neon sign there for a second.
And I missed it again. I'm watching it and I didn't even register.
Just all walked past this giant neon Pepsi sign.
Am I so used to product placement now that I don't even notice it? I'm just like, yeah, why am I thirsty?
The score's certainly changed in the movie now. It's gone from that kind of old-timey stuff. It's gone a lot more sort of orchestral as we get through the movie. But no, you are right. I recommend everybody check out Life After the Navigator. It's a wonderful, wonderful documentary, and not just for fans of the film, just about the life of Joey. It is incredible.
Yeah, it's equal parts the story of Joey Kramer and the story of Flight of the Navigator.
Exactly. Lizardman saying, being on here at times reminds me I'm missing a ton from my 80s film collection. Lizardman, do you mean as in movies you've not seen, or as in you just don't have them yourself? Because I envy you if they're movies you've not seen. because you've got some real gems out there to discover. Oh, he's learned to fly now, the little baby one has, and off he goes.
It's really sweet.
But without the great work of ILM, I think this movie wouldn't work, because the models are so relatable. Well, I don't think relatable is the term, but you can connect with them. They express emotion so well.
Yeah.
Lizman says, I don't have as many as I wish, and I also haven't seen as many of these gems, I guess. But that's great when you get to watch them all, and that's what's awesome. And Sharon's just saying, get to watch all these amazing movies.
Yeah, that's a great thing. And then you get to be a part of this community that talks about them too, without irony and without
Oh, definitely.
That's what's really sad and unfortunate, is sometimes, like I heard someone say recently, like they were watching, it was a group watch of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they were like, I can't tell you the last time I watched an 80s movie without irony. This, and I was like, really? Like, what a terrible way to experience things. One way to look at it is these are the movies that have influenced the people who are making movies now.
Exactly. You can find the DNA of so many modern films in stuff from this era. Because these guys, but then you see the DNA of these movies in movies from the 50s.
Yeah. That's the joy of it.
Sparky John says, I love being here and seeing the reactions of people who've never seen these movies before.
That's the joy of being a movie fan, really, is just discovering the connections and seeing how this impacted this, and how we know this would lead you directly to Cocoon, which would lead you, then you could be like, well, and then you could go down a Wilford Brimley rabbit hole or a Ron Howard rabbit hole. And
yeah. But you can't go wrong with really basically anything by Ron Howard is quality. I've even got Love, and it's not a sci-fi movie for far and away. I think elements of it are great, even if the accents are maybe a bit poor at times. But the cinematography with a land race at the end is just exceptional. But we've got a question here for you, Heath, from Carla, which is, how did you come up with your name, Serial at Midnight, for your YouTube channel?
I wanted to have a title or a name that was kind of evocative of a certain mood or a feeling. And I thought that Serial at Midnight made you feel, hopefully, the feeling of doing what we're doing now, or just, staying up late. You got maybe a bowl of cereal. It's midnight. You have nowhere to be. You're not on your way to work. It's just your time, and responsibility is hours away.
Yeah.
It's like that special time.
Yeah. I remember that, especially when I was younger with some of my friends. It'd be the whole, as you get older, you can't stay awake as long. It's sad.
That's true. Yeah.
It's sad, but I remember friends coming over. They'd like coming over to my house like at 11 o'clock at night, and they'd be like, so we'll start watching our movies now. And you watch till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and just watch your classics.
And as you get older, the cereal gets more responsible too. You're like, well, what's the whole grain content of this? Does this have fiber?
Oh, I know. It's a real shame, because there's a cereal in the UK. Kellogg's make it. It's called Crunchy Nut Clusters, and they do ones with chocolate chips in. And I can't buy them because the box says like 10 portions, but it's like 2. And it's literally like they put crack cocaine into a box.
Do you guys get the monster cereals over there from General Mills?
No, we don't. But when I was in America, I brought back a box of Count Chocula for Halloween for myself.
I got to tell you, I used to love that cereal, and every Halloween season, I'd be like, yes. And now when I eat it, I get a headache immediately. I'm like, well, it's the aging process.
Wow.
See, guys, this is what happens when you mess around with gas lines. And
yeah,
you need a disclaimer here too. You got to
Oh, Mad Matt's showing C3PO's cereal. Oh, the problem was there was this era in the 80s that cereal that came out, it all was different shapes, so it all tasted the same.
I don't remember. So I remember the cereal, but I don't remember what it tasted like. There was a lot of cereals tasted like the base of Captain Crunch, like that.
Yeah,
corn.
yeah, exactly that. I mean,
Yeah.
over here we have a cereal called well, it was called Sugar Puffs, but it's the kind of thing. It's like a kind of a bit like a wheat. Yeah, Mr. Fizzle, Mr. T cereal again, same taste. C3PO. Basically, all of the cereals came out, and it was just a slightly different shape.
Mr. T cereal in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, right? He was like, I pity the food who don't eat my cereal. Yeah,
we also appreciate the artist is wearing a cardigan, but doesn't appear to be wearing a vest or a shirt or a t-shirt under it. He's wearing a long sleeved cardigan.
All right, we're just invested in the end of the movie now.
I think we are. I think everyone is here. Now, listen, man, he was a Fruit Loop kid. And Carlos saying, has Carlos been redeemed? Good question. I don't know if he has. I suppose he was never a bad guy, really. He was misunderstood in that kind of 80s bad guy with a heart of gold.
They painted him in such a way that he didn't do anything terrible. He didn't really hurt anybody. And he doesn't have that far to go to be a good guy again.
Oh, Sparky John said, you ask him about bad 80s movie, what's your guilty pleasure? It's so bad, it's so good, but the Blu-ray is appalling. Megaforce he's talking about.
Megaforce.
Yeah, Barry Bostwick plays an action hero. It's directed, I believe, by the same guy as Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh, Hal Needham?
Yeah. There's giant battles. Imagine Delta Force, but they've got fireworks strapped to the vehicles in the most ridiculous battles you've ever seen.
I've never seen this, but this popped up when I was looking for the 80s sci-fi movies. This looks amazing. I mean, I hear you, but this looks amazing.
But if you pick it up, as strange as it sounds, get it on DVD, not Blu-ray. The Blu-ray, it was released with a mono track, but they've made a pseudo surround track from the mono, and it just sounds so hollow you can't actually hear what they're saying.
Wow.
Oh. Again, this is a bit of an 80s trope. You see the working man standing up for the little guy, as opposed to, you know, with the corporate scumbag trying to bully people.
That doesn't exist anymore either, does it? When they point out the evil of corporations in movies.
Not so much now.
Because now the corporations are making all, I mean, they already were making the movies, but now it's just like 3 companies making everything.
Oh, he's trying to do his little bit to help.
It's really sweet, man. I gotta go do something real quick.
Lizard Man just said, decent construction dudes with much respect. Mr. Furzel replied, that's what happens when you give a good burger without mayo. Can we just drop the mayonnaise, guys? This is, you know. This is, I mean, are they in space? Are they all over the planet? I'd love to know a bit more about the backstory of these.
They would have had to have written a backstory or known what it was.
But this
It's
definitely
beautiful,
feels
though.
like this does feel like a TV episode ending kind of thing.
This would have been great on television. This whole movie, this would have been a great, even if it was a two-parter, because some of the amazing stories went for the Spielberg did the one on the airplane, the World War II story. That's like 50 minutes long. They could have done it, but
Carla says, is there any film setting other than New York where the movie really captures the energy and the vibe of the city on screen? New York is so iconic in 80s films or in general. We had someone say Detroit with RoboCop. That was Aaron who said that.
It's got to be some Chicago ones.
Yeah.
Anything John Hughes is very connected to Chicago.
And strangely enough, the Nolan Batman movies have a really strong Chicago. I mean, they were shot in Chicago, but Gotham feels a lot more Chicago in it.
You're right.
Another question here from Sparky John. Before we finish, what's everyone's favorite 80s robot? Ooh. I'm going to go with Nell, even though she was an AI robot with a ship, she can control the ship. I'll call her a robot. Nell, Battle Beyond the Stars.
I'm gonna trust my gut. First thing that came to mind was the Happy Birthday Polly robot from Rocky 4. Is it 4? Is it 3 or 4? I can't remember.
It was in 4.
Yeah, that's the Happy Birthday Polly. Because I wanted that robot so bad, and when that question was asked, that's the first robot I thought of. So I'm gonna trust my gut on that one.
Okay. Oh, someone's just posted a picture of it of the Seiko robot. Or Seiko, I believe his name is. The Happy Birthday Paulie robot. Which is being, apparently there's going to be a new, there's a new cut of Rocky 4 coming out from Stallone, and he's removing the robot.
Oh no. Leave it alone, Stallone. That hashtag leave it alone, Stallone. Let's get that going.
Yeah.
No, I'd like to see that, but
Rosie from the Jetsons is her favorite. Mystic J, Johnny 5, Sparky John with go for the British favorite, Metal Mickey. There we go. I'll show you. You know what's really crazy, Sparky John? Don't you can see that? There you go. I've got that book just here that you're showing the picture of. Does Terminator count? Oh yeah, but I don't know if I'd trust a 1980s Terminator cyborg around me too much for keeping me safe.
Got sweat, bad breath, everything. What was the robot from Buck Rogers? Twiggy. Tweaky. Was that 70s or that was
it carried 70s? I believe.
That was a good robot. That's my point. That was a good robot. Not a bad robot. J.J. Abrams.
Apparently, Luis Guzman has a cameo as a bystander in the crowd. We just saw that.
Well, to go back to your question earlier in the movie, if that was stereotyping, if Luis Guzman's in the crowd just hanging out, maybe not.
Yeah. Lizard Man saying his favorite 80s robot is Johnny 5. He's fun.
Very 80s ending. Well, just flying off into the clouds. That's Flight of the Navigator ending too, more or less.
Yeah, it is. It's, I don't know. Back with the big band music and the city redeveloped all around with this little building. What you don't realize now is you go there for a burger and it's now big city, right? It's like $40 for a burger. You know, it's gone a bit crazy. Well, thank you, Heath. That's been absolutely brilliant. So we'll just chat for a few more minutes, take some more questions from the crowd. And also, if you've got anything to promote about your channel, what are you getting on with at the moment? What's coming up for fans?
This is an exclusive because I haven't announced it anywhere yet, but I'm going to be doing Christmas in July throughout the month of July. And I've got a lot of my creator friends who are going to be contributing some of their favorite, just talking about, their favorite movies or Christmas specials. albums, things like that. So I'm really excited about that. And that's July is just a few days away, so I better get started.
Well, everyone loves Christmas, and I do hope we're going to see a little bit of Santa Claus the movie in there.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that, but that's a good.
Yeah,
it's another one. You know, I read the novelization for that. Like that movie has a novelization. What crazy times the 80s were.
It was crazy. The only so second unit director Joe Johnston on that I've got to go to IMDb. On the credits, it just said Joe Johnston, second unit director. Could it be the Joe Johnston?
I bet it.
I bet it is. IMDb. If that is, that's a deep cut. That would be.
It would make sense though, because he's an amazing stories guy.
Oh, and Sparky John says he's now signed up to your channel, and it is the Joe Johnston was the second unit director on this. Amazing. How wonderful! So the pedigree of the people,
and yeah,
Captain America. The pedigree of the people involved in this movie is just up there.
Well, Spielberg knew how to put together a good team.
He really, really did. I mean, does anyone else have any more questions for Heath or anything general about this movie they want to talk about? I mean, it's a lot of fun. It doesn't set the world alight, but it's a fine movie. It's an absolutely fine movie, this.
And that's good enough, right?
Yeah, it's good enough. No one can come away from this saying they had a bad time. It drags a little bit. It's got some pacing issues, but hey, it's a movie of the time. And it's still fun.
So do we think that these people ever saw those robots again?
That's a really good question. I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe.
What do you guys think?
Yeah. Did they ever see them again? What happened? Also,
what happens when the blender breaks? Does the little robot come down and like, oh?
I suppose you could ship some kind of brand new future that what happens is the artist and the pregnant lady marry, and then they end up living there with their family, and then they ultimately leave the the old couple leave the cafe as in their will to them, and they carry on running it, and it's a generational thing.
That's, you know what, that's great. And then all these years later, now it is the hipster building in the middle of the neighborhood, and we can set up batteries still not included for the 2022 sequel. Maybe we could get that on HBO Max or Disney Plus or something.
I'm sure Netflix would throw money at it. You just have to give them half an idea. Oh, here we go. The producers wish to thank the following for their cooperation: Pepsi Cola Company.
For all that free Pepsi.
For all that free Pepsi. But Mad Matt's saying his favorite robot he was going to pick was a great one. And I don't know. I'd say it's 79, but I'd also say it's 80s as well. Vincent from The Black Hole.
That feels 80s to me. Black Hole feels like an 80s.
Well, it was right at the end of 1979. So I mean, and let's also not forget the other terrifying robot, which was Maximilian, with his helicopter hands in the black hole.
Yeah,
that was a proper terrifying thing. Mad Matt says product placement not included. Well, that's a lot of fun. It's been a good fun movie talking about this. It's been a great night. It's been wonderful having you with us, Heath. He's really switched onto our wavelength of recognizing where the joy is in the movie, even if it's not the greatest movie. So thank you for joining us. Have you got anything else you want to promote with your channel or anything today?
No, I do want to say thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast. If anybody's curious about what's happening at Serial at Midnight, so it's youtube.com/Serial at Midnight or serialatmidnight.com, which is the landing page that you could get to my social media stuff from there. We do what you guys are doing. I try very much to lead with positivity and joy and optimism. But we can see things for what they are. It's not that just like, oh, it's so great, but recognizing the this movie, as you say, it's not a perfect movie, but so few movies are, and you don't want to close a conversation out on something because it's not perfect. And that's actually where the fun can really begin with these things. And so Yeah, that's what we're trying to do at Serial at Midnight, and this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for having me here.
You're very welcome. We'd love to have you back sometime in the future. It'd be brilliant. So just to say to everybody, we will be back, well, next week we will be back with horror, and we will be finishing off our Nightmare on Elm Street journey with Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. But in 2 weeks today, we will be kicking off the Summer of Popcorn with the first of our movies, which, if you've seen the trailer, which is absolutely wonderful, big props to Sam, our editor, for cutting it, Flight of the Navigator. We're doing it. We're hitting it with a big one of our most requested films. We're doing Flight of the Navigator, so make sure you're ready for 2 weeks' time. So everyone, take care, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.